You lie there still and quiet, your eyes gently closing as the warm breeze of a long-forgotten desert brushes across your imagination. The sands of time are soft tonight, stretching endlessly beneath a sky scattered with slow-moving stars. The air carries the distant scent of sandstone, old and sun-baked, like memory itself. You take a breath, then another, and now you're no longer in your bed. You're standing at the edge of a great golden plain. The night is calm, vast, and ancient. In the distance, lit by the soft light of a crescent moon, 3 enormous silhouettes rise gently from the earth, as though they've always been there, waiting quietly for your arrival. The great pyramids of Giza. They do not speak, but they hum, a deep, slow vibration that you can't hear with your ears, only feel with your bones. It's not frightening, it's peaceful, so very still, as if these colossal stones have stored 1,000,000 sunsets inside their walls, and now they're gently releasing them into the desert air. You begin to walk slowly, your steps muffled by the soft crunch of sand. There is no rush. These stones are in no hurry. They've waited for more than 4,000 years, and tonight they've decided to whisper their story to you. It all began with a vision, not yours, but that of a pharaoh, a king whose name would echo beyond time, carried in the wind, etched into stone. His name was Khufu, but tonight you don't need to worry about titles or dates. Tonight you only need to listen. For this is the story of a dream made of stone. Long ago, when the Nile flowed with rhythms older than maps, and the stars were read like sacred texts, Pharaoh Khufu sat beneath this very sky. He looked upward, not to conquer, but to become eternal. In his heart stirred a question, gentle but unshakable. What shall I leave behind when my breath is gone? In those days, pharaohs were not just rulers, they were bridges between the mortal and the divine. Khufu believed, as all his people did, that death was not an ending, but a journey, a long, quiet voyage through the stars toward a place beyond this world, where the gods awaited with open arms. But the journey needed a vessel, not a boat, not a chariot, something bigger, stronger, timeless. So Khufu began to dream of a tomb. No, not just a tomb, a monument, a gateway to the heavens, a mountain of stone that would rise from the earth and point to the gods. This would not be built in haste. No, the plan would take shape slowly, like a moon carving its way through sky. He summoned his viziers, his priests, his architects. Together, under oil lamps and starlight, they traced the first lines into the sand. Measurements were whispered like prayers. Alignments were made, not just with rope and ruler, but with the heavens themselves. The North Star, ever faithful, became their compass, the sun's path, their guide. You can almost hear their discussions now. Soft, low voices in a language long lost to time, but still felt in the hush of the desert wind. We must build it strong. It must last longer than our names. It must guide the soul beyond death. And so, from that vision, the plan was born. A pyramid unlike any other, a monument to eternity. You reach the edge of the first pyramid now, Khufu's pyramid, the Great Pyramid. Up close, it is even more silent than from afar. The base stretches outward so far, you cannot see all its sides at once. Each stone, taller than you, has been shaped by hands long gone, and yet they remain, standing perfectly still, as if time dares not move them. You press your hand gently against the stone. It is cool, even in the night air. Solid, immovable, and as you touch it, you feel it. Not just stone, but effort. Generations of hands, minds, dreams, 100,000 workers, each one placing their faith into a single block, trusting that their small piece would become part of something vast and eternal. This is no bedtime story of magic. This is a lullaby of labor, of planning, of patience, and you realize the real mystery is not how the pyramid was built, but why it was ever imagined. Because someone believed that memory could live in stone, someone believed that life, even after death, could be guided home, someone looked up at the stars and decided to rise. You wake again, not in your bed, but in the quiet warmth of ancient stone. The wind has stopped. The stars have shifted slightly, like candles moved just an inch on a high, high ceiling. It is still night in the desert, but it is not the same night. You are still there, standing beneath the shadow of the Great Pyramid, only now you sense something different. Not a presence exactly, more like a memory stirring nearby, a memory older than words, older than names. It is Khufu again, but not the ruler on his golden throne. Not yet. You see him before the crown, before the robes. As a young man, he sits alone on a hill, the wind playing with his hair, his gaze fixed on the river below. He is not speaking. He is listening. To what? You're not sure. Perhaps the call of the ibis, or the rustle of reeds near the Nile, or maybe something quieter, the soft breath of history itself, waiting to be shaped. From his father Sneferu Khuf, inherited a kingdom already great, already glorious, but in his heart, Khufu knew greatness must not only be received, it must be built. And one night, as he slept in a chamber lined with cedar and limestone, the dream came. A staircase, but not a simple one. This one rose into the sky, each step made of brilliant white stone, polished and sharp-edged. At the top stood a radiant god, arms open. Light poured down, but instead of blinding him, it wrapped him in peace. When Khufu awoke, his breath was steady, but his pulse beat like a drum. He did not call for wine, or music, or even a scribe. He stepped outside and watched the stars retreat. And then he whispered, "I must build the stair." He did not mean it literally, of course. Or perhaps he did. Dreams can be strange that way. He didn't know yet what shape it would take, but he knew this. It must lead upward. It must endure. It must be made not just for the body, but for the soul. So began the vision of a pyramid, not merely as a tomb, but as a ladder to eternity. He summoned his dreamers, the priests who read the stars and the scribes who knew the weight of words. He summoned the architects whose fathers had built great walls and smooth canals, and in the great halls of Memphis, lit by flickering lamps and the soft chant of prayers, they drew the first triangle in the sand. What if this triangle could be built tall? What if it could rise not from wood or clay, but from quarried stone? Heavier than men, but moved by will, they debated gently. They wondered quietly, and Khufu listened, always listened, because this was not just a monument to himself, it was a symbol, a bridge between what is mortal and what is not. You close your eyes now, just for a moment, and when you open them again, the chamber has changed. You are no longer outside beneath the stars. You are standing in the dream itself. You are inside a vast open chamber. Not real, not yet, but imagined by Khufu's mind. The walls are made of polished limestone, perfectly white. The ceiling slopes up toward a point, sharp, exact, like the very tip of the pyramid. There is no sound here, no echo, just stillness, a sacred kind of stillness. And then you hear it, not a voice exactly, more like thought, given form, We do not build because we fear death, it says. We build because we believe in what comes after. The words settle into you, like sand into a riverbank. You breathe slowly. There is no hurry. You are in the mind of a king who has all the time in the world. And now, the pyramid is beginning to form, not in stone, but in vision. Khufu sees it, the base wide and perfect, each side facing the cardinal directions, the height precise, the slope steep enough to challenge the eye, but gentle enough to endure gravity's pull. It is only an idea, floating in the quiet air of the pharaoh's thoughts. But it is real. More real than anything made of wood or cloth or bone. Because this is belief, shaped. Soon, Khufu would send word to the quarries. Soon, the workers would begin. But for now, this moment, this quiet chamber in the king's mind is enough. And you, too, can rest here. Because sometimes, the most powerful part of a mystery is the moment it begins. You awaken not with a jolt, but like a leaf stirred by water. Slow, weightless, and calm. You are no longer in the dream of the pharaoh. Now you are in the very first breath of something real. The desert is waking too. The sun hasn't risen yet, but its approach is felt. Not in light, but in warmth creeping through the stones. The horizon begins to soften. Shapes once dark and mysterious become golden and defined, and in the quiet cradle of early morning, you see it. The plain chosen by Khufu, flat, broad, endless. This is where the dream must become matter. You walk across the site, not hurried, not lost. Beneath your feet, the earth is packed firm, prepared by men who have been working for months already, digging shallow trenches, measuring, leveling. The air hums with silent precision. There are no machines here, no engines. Just hands, eyes, ropes, plumb lines, and sun shadows. Khufu's architects have arrived. They are not like the kings and priests. They speak less. Their clothes are simple, but their minds are sharp. Like copper tools, newly cast, they do not dream aloud. They draw their dreams into the sand and measure them against the heavens. One of them, a quiet, lean man with skin the color of date bark, presses his fingers into the ground. He squints at the horizon, not for beauty, but for symmetry. He holds a thin red to the sky and watches the stars shift. He is searching for north, true north, because Khufu has commanded that his pyramid face the four directions exactly, not almost, not approximately, exactly. And so, they wait for the stars to tell them. You rest nearby, watching with gentle curiosity. The architects are calm, unbothered by time. They've brought tools that seem too simple to work. Cords, water bowls, plumb bobs, but they know something that needs no shouting. Precision is not born of force, it is born of patience. As night returns, they mark the point where a certain star, one they've watched for years, crosses the sky. It appears just above the horizon and slides across the heavens. Again and again, they mark it, drawing invisible lines between sky and sand. Finally, when the calculations match, they smile, not broadly, but with quiet satisfaction. They have found north. Now, the base of the pyramid can be drawn. You feel something stirring beneath the sand. Not movement, but energy, the invisible hum of something that wants to rise. Then comes the first order. Stone. So much stone. From the quarries across the river, the call is made, and now the story becomes heavy. Not in spirit, but in weight. Because the next part of the dream is the hardest. Lifting the earth itself, you find yourself standing beside a riverbank now. The Nile, soft and wide, glittering in moonlight. Rafts and boats crowd its edges. Not for fish, not for travelers, but for stone. Each block, larger than a man, has been carved from limestone beds under the eastern cliffs. Men with bronze tools have chipped and shaped and smoothed. Sweating under a sun that knows no mercy, they chant songs to keep rhythm. They sip from cool jugs. They rest beneath acacia trees. But mostly, they carry the river is their gift. It is not just a body of water. It is the lifeblood of this dream. On its back, stone floats from quarry to construction site. Day after day, you trail behind one raft. The block upon it is pale and glowing in the starlight like a moon fallen to earth. The boat rocks slightly, but the men do not worry. They have done this before. Their fathers did too, and when the raft arrives on shore, dozens gather. They hoist the stone onto a sled, a heavy wooden frame dragged by ropes over wet sand. Not dry, never dry. Water is poured constantly to reduce friction. Clever, simple, effective. Step by step, the stone moves forward. You watch, not with awe, but with something calmer. Admiration. These men are not slaves. They are workers. Paid, fed, and proud. They are not building for fear. They are building for something greater than themselves. Because Khufu's pyramid is not just a tomb, it is a collective promise that if something is built well enough, it can last forever. Now, as the sun finally peaks above the horizon, you find yourself back at the site. A few stones lie in place. The first row of the pyramid's foundation. They do not look impressive yet, but they are exact. Each one aligned to a plan measured in fractions of degrees. The architects nod. The overseers nod. The workers smile. And the desert listens. Because something ancient is beginning to rise, and you, dreamer of the night, are part of it now. Not in body, but in spirit. Morning rises once more, and this time you are already awake. But not in the usual way. No alarm, no stirring rush, just awareness. Calm, slow, and complete. You are no longer just watching the pyramid rise. You are within its making. The foundation stones lie in precise rows. Now, hundreds of them, pale, square, and perfectly aligned. They do not look like the base of something towering. Not yet, but the workers know better. And so do you. Because you've seen the dream, and now you are watching it rise. The site is alive, not with noise, but with motion. Quiet motion, smooth, repeated, purposeful. You stand near one of the ramps that have been packed and carved along the rising structure. Long earthen pathways that wind upward like riverbanks. Upon them, teams of men pull massive sleds, each carrying limestone blocks heavier than any cart horse could drag. They do not shout, they chant. The rhythm is soft, but steady. A low, almost melodic hum. Not for the gods, not for the overseers, for themselves. Each chant pulls the ropes tighter. Each beat moves the stone forward. Just a little. They wear short kilts and wide linen bands around their heads. Their feet are hardened. Their hands are calloused. But their eyes carry a steady flame, as if they know what they are part of, as if they understand that though each man lays only one stone at a time, together they are building something far beyond memory. You follow one group. Up the ramp. Slowly, their pace is not quick, but consistent. Every few feet, they pause. Water is poured ahead to moisten the sand. The sled creaks, but it does not complain. Neither do the men. They do not work for coin alone. They work for pride, for legacy, for a name they may never know. Elsewhere on the site, you see the supervisors, men with shaved heads and red scrolls. counting stones, marking placement, checking angles. They hold no whips. They carry rods, yes, symbols of order, but they rarely use them. There is order here, but not fear. These workers were recruited from across the kingdom. Farmers during flood season, craftsmen, quarrymen, haulers. They were housed in clean, organized camps just south of the pyramid. They were given bread, beer, water, and meat. Their families were honored. When they died, some were buried with care in tombs not far from the monument they helped raise. You feel the presence of one such worker now. He walks beside you, though he does not see you. His name is Kemwase. He is 30 years old, with thick arms and a quiet smile. He has been working here for 7 seasons. He knows the slope of the pyramid better than he knows the path to his home. His father was a potter. His son will learn to shape stone. Kemwase places his hands on a block that has just reached its resting place. He breathes deeply, then steps back. That one is done. Another follows. As the sun rises higher, you drift to the higher levels of the pyramid. Not with your feet, but with your thoughts. The structure is growing. Layer by layer, step by step, each level smaller than the one before. The higher it goes, the more complex the planning becomes. Engineers measure every angle. Surveyors use shadow and string to correct the tilt. Water levels are checked. Pulleys are tested. And slowly, like a mountain built from the dust of dreams, the pyramid takes shape. The casing stones, polished white limestone, begin to appear. These are special. They are shaped so finely that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. They are cut to reflect the sun, not just for beauty, but for reverence. The pyramid must shine, not to dazzle mortals, but to honor the gods. Because this monument is not just a staircase, it is a mirror. A mirror that catches the light of Ra and sends it back to the heavens. You sit now in the shade of a temporary wall, a breeze whispering over you. The sounds of work drift around you like a lullaby. The soft thump of stone, the rasp of copper on limestone, the hush of sandals on sand. It does not feel rushed. It does not feel brutal. It feels eternal, like the Nile, flowing slow and sure, like the stars, circling endlessly overhead, like the dream of a king, becoming real in the hands of thousands. And now, dreamer, you may rest again. The pyramid grows slowly. It does not demand. It waits. Let your breath match the rhythm of the workers' chant. Let your heartbeat follow the sled across the ramp. And sleep, as the desert sun lowers into golden calm, behind a pyramid that rises one stone higher with each passing dream. You awaken not under the open sky this time, but inside cool stone. The wind has disappeared, replaced by silence. Thick, ancient, and sacred, you open your eyes to find yourself standing at the mouth of a passage. Low, narrow, and dimly lit by the ghost of forgotten torches. You have stepped inside the pyramid. It is not finished, not yet, but the inner design has begun. This is no simple mound of stone. It is a labyrinth of intention. A slope descends beneath your feet, smooth, worn, and angled downward. You move slowly, your steps echoing softly, as if the pyramid is breathing around you. The walls are bare, undecorated, not because they are unfinished, but because this chamber is not meant for display. It is meant for protection. This passage, known in years to come as the descending corridor, plunges into the earth. It leads deep beneath the pyramid's base, into the bedrock itself. But for now, it leads you only into stillness. As you walk, your hand runs along the wall. It's cold, so cold. You feel the weight of thousands of stones pressing above you. Not to crush, but to cradle. You are inside the beating heart of Khufu's dream. Then the path shifts. You come to a junction where one corridor continues downward and another veers upward. Here lies one of the pyramid's quiet mysteries. 3 chambers are being built inside. Not one. Beneath the base, a rough, unpolished pit, the subterranean chamber, lies half forgotten. Some say it was abandoned midway. Others whisper it was built first. A decoy, a trial, either way, it is cold, bare, and empty. The deeper you descend toward it, the more still the air becomes. The silence here is total. But tonight, your dream does not take you deeper. It takes you up. You return to the junction and follow the ascending corridor. The slope is steady, but steep. Above you lies something extraordinary. Something that has puzzled minds for centuries. The Grand Gallery. You enter it, and your breath, if only in your dream, halts. This space is unlike anything else in the pyramid. A tall, narrow hall with walls that rise high and then angle inward, forming a corbelled ceiling like the ribs of a giant beast. Stone upon stone, set with such precision that the chamber has held its shape for over 4,000 years. The walls do not speak, but they suggest meaning, purpose, journey. As you step forward, your footfall becomes silent. You are no longer walking on a floor, but on memory. This passage leads directly to the king's chamber, the sacred heart of the pyramid, where the pharaoh's body will one day rest. But that is not yet. The chamber is still being carved. You pause in the middle of the Grand Gallery and rest on one of the sloped ledges along its sides. Even now, men are working nearby, their copper tools tapping rhythmically into granite. You can't see them, but you feel their presence. They are shaping the red granite blocks that will form the walls of the king's chamber. Granite brought from quarries far to the south, near Aswan, floated up the Nile like sacred cargo. Each block weighs over 50 tons, and yet they will be placed perfectly, suspended, aligned, unshifting. The king's chamber itself will hold no gold, no jewels, only a single sarcophagus, unadorned, heavy, made from the same granite. For Khufu, glory lies not in decoration, but in endurance. Above the king's chamber, though few in the centuries to come will know, 5 small relieving chambers are being built. Narrow spaces layered one atop the other, capped by the greatest marvel of all. Massive granite beams arranged in a pointed triangle, forming a ceiling so strong it could hold back the very mountain of stone above. You float up now, not with effort, but with dreaming. And you glimpse those beams, still, quiet, still locked in their eternal position. Their names, unknown to the workers. Their weight, known only to gravity. They were placed not for show, but for strength. And strength here is sacred. You return to the ground slowly, as if drifting like a feather back into the Grand Gallery. The voices of workers echo faintly now. Check the slope. Measure again. Align with the sun. They do not know they are building something that will be studied for millennia. They only know they must do it right, because this is the house of a king, and more than that, it is the door between this world and the next. The sky is soft again. You feel it before you see it. The gentle coolness before the sun returns. The desert before sunrise is not empty. It is full of waiting. The pyramid has grown taller. From the distance, it now looms like a sleeping mountain, perfect in its lines, impossible in its scale. You are standing beside it again, but not alone. Around you, hundreds of small fires glow in the dark, flickering like fallen stars across the sand. This is the builder's camp, just before dawn. You hear quiet laughter, the sizzle of flatbread on clay. low voices murmuring to one another, not of death, not of gods, but of everyday things, of family, of weather, of aches in the back, and dreams of rest. These are not the forgotten souls of a lost empire. These are people, workers, skilled laborers, stone cutters, haulers, bakers, carpenters, water carriers, rope makers. They are not slaves, as you may have once thought. They are citizens. Some are conscripted, some are volunteers, some are here for pride, some for pay, but all are part of something enormous. And you, for this night at least, are one of them. You sit beside a small fire now, warm and quiet. A boy stirs a pot beside you. His name is Menya. He is no older than 12, but he carries water all day up the ramps. His father works in the quarry crews. His mother makes bread near the workers' tombs. Menu offers you a piece of flat barley cake. You smile and accept. The bread is coarse but warm. The kind of warmth that settles, not in your stomach, but in your chest. Are you building the top? Menu asks, his voice soft and curious. Not yet, you reply, though only in your thoughts. You are still dreaming, he nods, dipping his bread into the thick soup. My father says only the best crews work near the top, he adds. Maybe someday. You nod. Maybe someday. Across the camp, a group of stonemasons begins their morning stretch. They do not talk much. Their hands are rough, their backs broad. Some carry the scars of long work. Others have eyes that never quite rest. But they move with a rhythm that only comes from thousands of hours of repetition. They sharpen their copper chisels, not with metal, but with sandstone. They prepare sleds. They fill leather flasks with water. The sun begins to rise now, and the fires of the camp are replaced with golden light. Work begins again. You walk slowly up the ramp, joining the movement of the day. It is not loud. It is not rushed. It is continuous. One block at a time. Each team has their own rhythm, their own chant. Some sing in a caland response. Others hum low tunes. One team near the southeast corner uses a rhythm of clapping and rope pulls that sounds almost like a heartbeat. Your breath syncs with theirs. Push, step, pull, pause, push. Again, you pause to watch the finishing of a casing stone being placed. It is not dropped. It is not forced. It is guided. Tiny levers, wet sand, adjustments, so small they're invisible to the eye, but slowly, slowly, the massive stone nestles against its neighbor like a puzzle piece. When it fits, there is no sound, no crack, no scrape, just silence. Perfect silence. And then a nod from the overseer. That one is done. Another follows. You step back to take in the full shape of what is growing here. The pyramid is nearing its final form. The upper tiers are smaller now, easier to shape, harder to reach. The highest ramps wind like vines up its flanks. Some say the ramps may spiral around it. Others claim they stretch straight up one face, extending into the sky. No one is entirely certain, not even those building it. The ramps are temporary. They will be gone when the pyramid is finished. Dismantled, forgotten, like scaffolding around a dream. Only the dream remains. The sun is high now. The work continues, but your body is growing still. You lie back on a flat stone near the base. Your eyes drift upward, tracing the perfect angle of the pyramid's edge. A slope of roughly 51 degrees, rising toward the heavens with silent confidence. At the top, the pyramidion will be placed. A small capstone, perhaps gilded, perhaps plain, but always sacred. The tip of the stairway to eternity. The final stone, But not today. Not yet. Today, the workers still climb. And you, traveler of dreams, close your eyes as the rhythm fades. Push, step, pull, pause, push, again. Tonight, you do not begin at the base. You begin at the top, far above the sands, above the ramps, above the work chants and carts and firelight. You stand where few have stood, upon the narrowing summit of the Great Pyramid, where the final layer is being readied. There is no wind here, just stillness. The kind of stillness that makes your heart beat slower, your breath fall quieter. It is not fear, it is reverence. You are surrounded by air, space, sky, an unfinished stone. The pyramid is almost complete. One more stone remains. The pyramidion, it is a single piece, carved with exquisite care. Its size is small, compared to the blocks below. And yet, it is the most important. The crown, the seal, the star that touches the heavens. For years now, stone has risen, layer upon layer, inch by inch. Hundreds of thousands of blocks. Sweat, songs, dust, tears, lives, and now, only one. You hear the murmurs before you see the men. A special team has been chosen to place the capstone, not because of rank, or wealth, or favor, but because of trust. They are craftsmen who have worked on this pyramid since its beginning. They know its angles, like they know their own names. The capstone lies before them now. Resting on a sled at the top of the ramp, it has been smoothed to perfection. Some say it will be plated in gold. Some say it will be left bare, the color of sunlight itself. But everyone agrees. It will face the sky. There is no fanfare, no trumpets, no parade, just breath, hands, silence. You watch as the team waits the final patch of stone. They ease the pyramidion forward. It slides, then hesitates, then slides again. One man adjusts the angle with a small lever. Another holds the rope. A third watches the alignment. And finally, it rests, softly, cleanly, as if it had always been waiting there. A murmur of approval rises. The kind of sound the people make, not for show, but from deep within the chest. A low, steady sound, not cheering, thanking. The ramp will now be dismantled. Slowly, methodically, the pyramid is finished. It must be revealed. Clean, shining, complete. Its casing stones will gleam white under the sun. Its face will cast shadows across the desert. Its point will aim directly at the stars. And Khufu's dream will have weight. Not just imagined, real, touchable. You descend now. Not hurried, not heavy. You are floating. The work is done, and the dream has become stone. But the pyramid is more than a building now. It is a message. One that speaks not in words, but in form. You can feel it in your bones. I was here. I saw the sky. I shaped the earth. And I believed in forever. Back on the ground, workers sit quietly in the shade. They speak little, not because they are tired, though they are, but because the moment speaks louder than any voice. Some will return to their villages. Some will remain nearby. Some will pass away before the sands shift again. But all will carry this in their memory, that they built something bigger than a king. They built a mystery, a riddle of time, a stairway to the stars. The sun now hangs high. The pyramid shines. And you, listener of stone and sand, close your eyes. You have reached the summit of the dream. Now, you may float gently downward, into rest, into stillness, into the waiting hush of the ages. You awaken not to sound, but to stillness. Not the stillness of waiting, but the stillness of completion. The workers are gone now. The ramps have vanished, slowly taken down like scaffolding from a sacred statue. The carts no longer roll. The songs no longer echo. The copper tools lie stored in quiet rooms. What remains is silence. And stone. You walk once more through the wide plain of Giza, and the pyramid towers above you. No longer a work in progress, it is whole. It does not glitter, it does not sing, it does not move, and yet it speaks. Its white casing stones gleam under the morning sun, like a beacon rising from sand. Each side of the pyramid faces exactly north, south, east, and west. Its base is so level that modern tools can barely improve it. Its joints are so tight that millennia of wind and time have not pried them apart. You gaze up along one of its faces. The slope is smooth, the angle is sharp, the tip is distant, and still, impossibly, it feels reachable. You don't need to climb it. You already have, in your dream. Khufu has died. You do not see his death. You are spared the sadness, but you know it has happened. You feel it in the wind, which now moves differently, more reverently. The pyramid, once filled with motion and sound, is now still, because it waits. It waits for its king. In the coolness before dawn, a solemn procession approaches the pyramid. Priests walk in silence, their robes trailing in the sand. They chant softly, not to mourn, but to guide. Khufu's body, wrapped in linen, rests in a long golden boat, shaped like the vessels that sail the Nile. But this boat is not for water, it is for the sky. The priests believe, as Khufu believed, that the soul sails across the heavens in a celestial journey after death, and so he must be given everything he needs for the voyage: weapons, food, incense, jewels, a sarcophagus carved from red granite, heavy and unadorned, and prayers. So many prayers, each word like a bridge between earth and stars. The burial is not loud. It is not grand in the way stories might imagine. It is careful, precise, respectful. The body is carried into the pyramid, down the long corridors, up the grand gallery, into the king's chamber. The granite sarcophagus awaits there, set in place long before the king died. It has waited in the darkness like a loyal servant. The king's soul is not alone. It is surrounded by symbols, carved stars, protective gods, magical inscriptions that speak not to the eyes, but to the spirit. And then the chamber is sealed, block by block. The doors are hidden, the corridors filled. No one will enter again. Not for thousands of years. You remain outside, listening. You cannot hear him, but you can feel the weight of peace. The pyramid is no longer becoming. It stands as it was meant to. Complete, silent, eternal. And though its builders are gone, its shape tells their story. They did not leave behind poems. They left precision. They did not build it with machines. They built it with knowledge. They did not fear time. They built for it. Now you walk around the base once more. The sand shifts beneath your feet, but the stone does not. You rest your hand against the lowest block. It is warm. It remembers. Somewhere inside it, or perhaps above it, the king has begun his journey. He rides with the sun god Ra now, sailing across the sky each day and descending into the underworld each night. He does not fear the darkness. He is guided by what his people built. You wake not in the desert this time, but above it, drifting quietly, as though riding a wind that no longer stirs the sand. You glide over the Giza plateau, silent, unseen, at peace. Below you lies the pyramid, still and solemn, but no longer alone. To the east, the sun begins to rise. Its light touches the peak first, a golden kiss to the crown of stone. The shadows are long, slow-moving, like great hands sweeping across the earth, and the pyramid's sides begin to glow softly with that familiar pale fire. You descend now, and time has passed. Not minutes, not days, centuries. The pyramid is still standing, but the landscape has changed. The white casing stones, once smooth and gleaming, are now cracked, chipped, some missing entirely. Wind and time have worn away the polish. The corners are rougher, the edges softer, and yet the structure remains true. Upright, majestic, weathered, but not defeated. You land quietly near its base. The sand is different now, deeper in places. Structures once surrounding the pyramid are mostly gone. Wooden ramps, stone temples, living quarters, all buried or broken. But the pyramid, still there, still watching the stars. Not far from its shadow, you find a new figure. Enormous, quiet, half buried in sand. The Sphinx. You did not see it before. It was likely built after Khufu's pyramid. Perhaps during the reign of his son, perhaps even by the same builders, guided by the same stars. It lies with the body of a lion and the head of a man, gazing eastward toward the rising sun. The nose is still intact. For now, its eyes are wide, thoughtful, unreadable. You stand before it, and it does not blink, but you feel a message pass between you. Something old, something simple. I am watching, it seems to say, and remembering. You turn back to the pyramid, and you realize the builders are gone. The priests, silent, the pharaoh, long buried, but the memory remains in the stone, in the slope of its sides, in the perfect cardinal alignment, in the soft rumble of the earth beneath your feet. The pyramid was never meant just for one lifetime. It was made for many lifetimes to come. Now, others arrive, new people. They wear different clothes, speak different tongues. They come not to build, but to wonder. Travelers, pilgrims, scribes, scholars, generals, poets. They come from Greece, from Persia, from lands across oceans not yet named. They touch the stone. They study its corners. They measure and argue and draw. They ask, who built this? How? Why? Some guess, some claim, some invent stories. But none can say for sure, because the truth is locked in a language no longer spoken, buried in thoughts no longer written. And the pyramid does not explain itself, it only is. You drift now among the visitors. You hear them marvel. You hear them doubt. One man claims it was giants. Another says it was sorcery. Another insists it was aliens from the stars. You smile quietly, not to mock, but to understand. For the real answer lies not in explanation, but in the work, in the patience, in the thousands of hands that lifted one stone after another and never stopped. You feel the breeze pick up again. The desert sighs. The stars fade behind the sunlight, and you return to your resting place at the base of the pyramid, beside a weathered stone. Your eyes close, but not from weariness, from peace, because you know, even if no one else does, that this pyramid is not just a mystery. It is a memory, a message, a monument to the quiet greatness of time. You open your eyes to wind, not harsh, not biting, but gentle, curious, as though it too is wandering. The desert has grown wider, emptier. You are still at the base of the Great Pyramid, but the world around it feels different. And it is. More time has passed. How long? 1,000 years? More? There are no more priests walking the corridors. No more pharaohs rising to the throne. The language once carved on the walls, That elegant, looping hymn of hieroglyphs has fallen silent. You are standing in the shadow of a monument that no one alive remembers how to build. The Nile still flows, though it has shifted its banks. The sand still gathers at the corners of the pyramid. But the people nearby no longer speak of Ra or Horus or Osiris. They follow different gods now, wear different clothes, write with different signs. Some come to the pyramid some with fear. Some try to enter. They search the passageways with torches, seeking treasure, secrets, answers. They find dust, an emptiness, and silence. Because the pyramid does not give, it only endures. One day, you watch as a group of men in foreign robes climb the outer steps. They speak Greek. They call this place They know nothing of Khufu. Their leader, a philosopher, stares up at the pyramid and writes, "It is the work of many lifetimes, and of kings who dreamed beyond death." He's not wrong, but he does not know. Not truly. You smile because you do. Later, others come. Romans, marching in boots of iron. They do not build here. They observe. They measure. They see the pyramid not as a tomb, but a trophy of time. They chip pieces from its side. They carve names into its base, not out of cruelty, but because they, too, want to leave a mark. They do not understand that the pyramid is the mark, not of a conqueror, but of a people, of a time when humans believed that by aligning stone with stars, they could speak to the gods. Centuries pass again. The Sphinx is swallowed by sand. The temples crumble. The names of the builders are forgotten. But the pyramid remains, even as empires fall, even as languages vanish, even as entire worlds rise and collapse like waves on a desert shore. It remains, not because of magic, not because of mystery, but because it was made well, made slowly, made with purpose. You now walk beside a man wearing robes and a turban. He is Arab, a mathematician, a seeker. His name is Olmaman. He brings tools, workers, and ambition. He does not believe the pyramid is empty. He thinks it holds treasure. So he orders it opened. A tunnel is carved, not along the ancient passageways, but hacked straight through stone. The work is long, painful, dangerous, but finally, a chamber. Not gold, not gems, just air. And a sarcophagus, lid missing, body gone, empty, and yet you feel no disappointment. Because the real treasure is not what was buried here, it is what still stands here. The pyramid is not a box, it is a message, a memory. Too massive to burn, too heavy to be forgotten. As night falls again, you sit quietly at the southern face. The stars above shift, new ones, brighter, strange constellations to the eyes of ancient builders, and yet the pyramid still points true. North, south, east, west, unmoving, unbothered, unfading. You rest your back against a stone. You breathe in the dust that once clung to the hands of workers long vanished, and you sleep. The desert is quiet again. But this silence is not ancient. It is modern. You stir gently awake beneath the pale dawn, the sky no longer untouched by smoke or sound. Somewhere nearby, a train sighs in the distance. The breeze carries a hint of coal, and far beyond the dunes, Cairo stirs with the noise of streets and shoes and voices from 1,000 corners of the world. You sit up slowly, and the pyramid, it is still there, still waiting, still watching, still rising from the earth like a question carved in stone. This is a new age, an age of steam and steel, of explorers with maps and notebooks, of archaeologists with lanterns and ropes, of cameras on tripods and scholars in khaki, brushing sand from blocks carved 4,000 years ago. They come not as conquerors, but as students. Though not all are careful, and not all are kind, you stand near a group of them now. They measure, they sketch, they speak in English, in French, in German. One of them climbs carefully through the forced entrance left behind by Ulmermann's men centuries before. Squeezing into the narrow passage, he emerges hours later, breathless and pale, a notebook clutched tightly in his hand. He has seen the king's chamber, empty but powerful. You follow them for days as they study the pyramid's angles, its joints, its chambers. They ask questions you have heard before. How did they build this? Why? What tools did they use? Could we do the same today? They argue, they theorize, they publish. Some say ramps. Others claim lost technology. Some whisper secrets of forgotten civilizations, of energy and stars and power beyond our understanding. You listen to them all, and the pyramid listens too. It does not answer. It does not need to. Its answer is the stone itself. Soon, the sand around the pyramid is cleared more fully than it has been in over 1,000 years. Temples are uncovered. Boat pits are discovered. Even ancient graffiti left by the workers. Names and jokes and prayers etched into the blocks by hands long returned to dust. It becomes clear this was not the work of slaves, but of organized, skilled laborers, fed, paid, housed, and honored. One piece at a time, the truth begins to return, not all at once, but steadily, like light crawling over stone at sunrise. You walk now with a quiet man, Egyptian but trained in the new sciences. His name is Selim. He has no torch, no shovel, just a notebook and a reverent heart. He kneels at the base of the pyramid, not to worship but to wonder. This, he says, touching a stone, is the heartbeat of our memory. He closes his eyes. Listens. You can almost hear them still, can't you? You nod. You can hear them. You always could. Now tourists arrive, not a few. Thousands. They come from every corner of the world. Some wear wide hats and sunglasses. Some carry phones and take pictures. Some smile. Some stand in silence. Some touch the stone and weep. And some pass by without seeing it at all. But the pyramid doesn't mind. It is not offended. It does not crave attention. It only remains. The sky changes above you. A jet passes high above. A thin white line across the blue. Time continues, and the pyramid remains, long after empires, long after gods, long after memory. It does not demand to be remembered. It simply makes forgetting impossible. You lie down in the sand once more, your head resting lightly against the base of the pyramid. The wind curls around the cornerstone, the light dims, and for a moment, not long, but enough, you feel every voice that has ever passed through this place rise within you like a tide. The workers, the priests, the pharaoh, the travelers, the diggers, the dreamers. And now, you are one of them. You always were. The night has returned. You rise in the dark, where silence is thick and the wind moves with reverence. There are no tourists now. No voices, no footsteps, just you and the stars. Above the Great Pyramid, the sky is impossibly wide, clear, ancient, full of constellations whose names have changed, but whose shapes remain. You lie back on the sand, just as the first builders must have done, and slowly, as your breathing settles, the stars begin to drift. No, you are drifting, not backward in time, not forward, but up. You rise above the desert, above the plateau, above the pyramid's peak. The monument grows smaller below you. Still massive, still perfect, but now part of something even greater, the sky. And then you see it. The alignment, the invisible thread, the way the corners of the pyramid mirror the heavens. Its sides face true north, south, east, and west, more precise than even some modern cities. Its height and base form a golden ratio. Its shape echoes the rays of the sun itself. But more than that, it speaks to the stars. In ancient times, they believed the pharaoh would rise after death to become one of them, to join the circumpolar stars that never set, never die. They called them the imperishables. The pyramid was built as a staircase to reach them, and now, as you float gently above it, you see that staircase, not as blocks and stone, but as intention. The pharaoh lies within, but his soul soars beyond. You are pulled forward now, gently toward Orion, the great hunter in the sky. His belt points down toward the pyramids. 3 stars, 3 monuments, aligned not by accident, but by ancient minds, who studied the night sky as a sacred text. You realize this was never just a tomb. It was a map, a mirror, a message to the stars. We are here, it says. We see you. We will meet you. The dream shifts again, gently. You return to Earth, back beneath the stars, lying in the same sand as those who built the great stone steps to heaven. The cold of night presses lightly on your skin, but you feel no fear. You feel peace, because this pyramid, this unchanging monument, does not belong only to one people, or one king, or one era. It belongs to everyone who has ever looked up and wondered, everyone who has asked, what lies beyond? Everyone who has believed in something greater, something lasting, something written not on paper, but in stone. Now you sit up. The pyramid is before you, sharp and silent in the moonlight. It does not shimmer like gold. It does not glow like magic. It is heavy, dark, unmoving, but that is what makes it true. It is not meant to rise like smoke. It is meant to remain, to ground us, to remind us, to connect us, earth to sky, life to death, man to dream. You place your hand on the cool stone once more. You listen, you wait, and then, so faintly you almost miss it, you hear something, a whisper from deep within. Not a voice, a feeling, a pulse, like a heartbeat echoing from the center of the earth, up through the granite blocks, into your bones. It is the sound of forever. You wake not with movement, but with stillness. The pyramid is beside you again. Familiar now, like a mountain you've always known, even if you only just climbed it. The sun is low on the horizon. The sky is awash in that early desert glow, amber, pale pink, and dusted with gold. You rise slowly, but you do not walk toward the pyramid. Not this time. Instead, your feet take you east, toward a place few notice, though it rests just beside the Great Pyramid. There, under layers of carefully placed limestone and sealed pits, something ancient sleeps. A boat, not a toy, not a model, but a full-sized wooden ship, longer than a modern bus, built from cedar, imported across the sea, every plank fitted with precision. No nails, no glue, just rope, grooves, and sacred geometry. You walk along the edge of the pit. The boat lies disassembled, its pieces numbered and arranged, as if the builders expected to return and reassemble it at any moment. Thousands of years passed before it was uncovered again. But now you stand beside it. The solar bark, a vessel not meant for rivers or oceans, but for the sky. You close your eyes and imagine it. The pharaoh, lying within the pyramid, his body still, and beside him, this ship, a vehicle to carry his soul across the celestial waters. In ancient belief, the sun god Ra traveled across the sky each day in such a boat, and at night he sailed through the underworld, fending off chaos. Reborn with every sunrise, the pharaoh, divine in death, was meant to join him, to become a star, to be reborn, again and again, forever. The wind shifts gently around you now. It brings the scent of wood and dust, of rope and time. You kneel beside the reconstructed bark, now housed in its own quiet sanctuary. The planks curve upward like the ribs of a sleeping beast. Strong, elegant, silent. You place your hand on one of the beams. It is smoother than stone, warmer. It feels alive, somehow, despite its age. Not because it breathes, but because it was meant to. This boat was never meant to sail earthly seas, and yet it was built with such care, such precision, such reverence, because the voyage it was designed for was eternal. A journey across the sky. You understand now why they built it, not out of superstition, but out of hope. The kind of hope that shapes wood with steady hands, even when no one will see it again for 4,000 years. You rise and step outside again. The sun has climbed. The pyramid stands at your side once more, and now you see it with fuller eyes. It is not alone. It was never alone. Around it lie other pyramids, temples, tombs, and boats. Each one a sentence in the language of belief. Each one a breath in the memory of a civilization. But this one, Khufu's pyramid, is the centerpiece, the anchor, the star. As the wind curls again around your face, you sense another presence in the sand. Not a person, but a memory. A faint outline, the feeling of someone watching from a long way off. A guard, a builder, a priest. No, a dreamer. Someone like you, someone who once stood in this very spot, watching the light change across the face of the pyramid, wondering what lay beyond. You are not the first. You will not be the last. But in this moment, the pyramid belongs only to you. You awaken once more inside. Not outside the pyramid, not beside it, but within it. The stone above you looms heavy and still. Not in menace, but in presence. You are in the king's chamber now. Deep within the great pyramid, where no light enters and no sound dares linger. The walls are granite, smooth, dark, cold. Cut from Aswan, far to the south, and hauled here by hands whose names have long turned to sand. The ceiling above is flat, made of massive slabs, stacked in layers above, hidden from sight, placed to relieve pressure. It is not decoration. It is understanding. The air is still, not lifeless, just listening. At the center of the room rests the sarcophagus, empty, but powerful. It is too wide to have fit through the narrow passages of the pyramid, meaning it was placed here before the chamber was sealed. The pharaoh's final bed, or so we believe. No inscriptions mark its sides. No treasure lies scattered around it. Only silence, as if the soul that once rested here did not want company. Only peace. You sit beside the sarcophagus now. You place your hand on its surface. It is cold, but steady, and beneath it, somewhere deeper still, you feel something you didn't expect. A hum, a quiet vibration, almost like a breath too long held. You press your palm flat. You lean in, and you realize it is not a hum of energy, or sound, or movement. It is the echo of purpose. The pyramid was not built to impress. It was built to function, to lift, to carry, to cradle a soul through the storm of eternity. You lie down now beside the sarcophagus. The granite radiates stillness. You match your breath to the quiet. The king's chamber was carved not only with tools and skill, but with alignment. Its dimensions, some believe, hold proportions that mirror celestial patterns. Some say the chamber resonates at a frequency matching the human heartbeat. You do not know if this is true, but you believe it could be. Because as you lie here, your breath deepens, your thoughts slow, your body forgets it is heavy. The ceiling above you presses down, but not to crush, to contain, to hold you like a promise sealed in stone. You feel as if you could stay here forever, not trapped, not entombed, just quiet, safe, unneeded by the world outside. And then, slowly, gently, the chamber shifts, not in movement, but in perception. You are no longer alone, but there is no fear, just presence. A feeling that something ancient has noticed you, not to test you, not to judge, just to see and to remember. You speak no words, but if you did, they would be these. I came to understand. I listened to the stone. I walked with the workers. I dreamed as the pharaoh dreamed. The silence accepts this. No reply is needed. It is enough to be here. You do not know how long you rest in the king's chamber. An hour, a year, 1,000 years. It does not matter. Time has no clause in this place. Only stillness. Only stone. Only the memory of breath. You wake to a feeling, not a sound. The stone no longer hums. The silence no longer echoes. But something has changed. You are still inside the Great Pyramid, but you feel as though it is remembering. Not with words, not with pictures, but with presence. You walk now, slowly, through the long, sloping grand gallery. Its ceiling arches high above you. Steep, angled, precise, light does not touch it, and yet it seems to glow with a kind of quiet intelligence. The walls are smooth, their joints too perfect to measure by hand. Every stone here was placed with care beyond comprehension. You walk in silence, but the gallery is not silent. It remembers. With every step, you feel what came before. The footsteps of workers, bent with effort, guiding blocks up the slope. The whispers of priests, speaking sacred words as they passed beneath this stone sky. The echo of wooden sleds dragging the pharaoh's granite sarcophagus toward its final chamber. And beneath it all, the pulse of belief that what they did here mattered, that what they built would last, that their hands, though mortal, were shaping eternity. You reach the top of the grand gallery. It opens not into another hallway, but into stillness. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence of completion. You step into it, and you understand. The pyramid does not try to impress. It does not demand awe. It waits, because what it holds is not treasure, not secrets, not power. It holds a memory of a people who did not hope for glory, but for order. You think now of the desert that surrounds you, of the sun rising and falling, since the day the first block was set in place, of floods on the Nile, of storms, of dynasties rising and falling like dunes in the wind, and through it all, the pyramid watched, unmoving, unshaken. It does not remember names. It remembers intention. A civilization's dream held together with stone. You move downward now, back through the gallery, back through the passageways, past niches and sealed doors and chambers that no longer open, and finally, out into the air. The stars are overhead once more. The desert is dark. The wind is soft. The pyramid stands behind you, and somehow, though it has not moved, You feel it seize you. You are not Khufu, you are not a priest, or a mason, or a laborer, but you came, and you listened, and for that, the pyramid remembers you. You lie down in the sand. Again. No thoughts, no weight, only breath, only stars, only a monument made from stone and silence. And something deeper, a belief that human hands could build something that time itself would honor. You close your eyes, one last time, but the pyramid will still be there when you wake, and long after, not because it defies time, but because it accepts it. It endures. Not in resistance, but in stillness. The night is nearly silent. The stars have dimmed, not from clouds, but from the gentle glow that rises in the east. That first blue hush of approaching dawn, and you lie still beside the pyramid as the sky begins to warm. You have walked through ages, felt the weight of 1,000 lives, listened to the stone silence, seen what few remember, and now all is quiet, but not empty. You are filled with something you didn't know you were seeking. Not facts, not answers, but a feeling, a truth too wide for words, a whisper that says, "This mattered." The wind brushes softly across your skin. It carries no voice, but it brings memories, faint, ancient, and eternal. You see again the first workers lifting stone, the pharaoh gazing upward at a rising monument, the priests lighting incense inside echoing corridors, the mourners who walked behind the golden boat, believing their king would rise again in the sky. You see the sun god Ra sailing his bark through the heavens. You see the stars circling above the pyramid, never setting, never dying. And now you see yourself lying peacefully beneath it all, not watching from outside the story, but inside it, part of it. You always were. And so the pyramid becomes more than stone, more than a tomb, more than a mystery. It becomes a mirror of ambition, of belief, of patience, of what humans can do when they think, not in years, but in forever. It becomes a symbol of the quiet kind of greatness, not loud, not greedy, not desperate to be remembered, but simply worthy of it. The light grows brighter. You feel it on your face. You open your eyes, slowly, not startled, but calm. The pyramid is still there, and always will be, even as centuries turn like pages, even as languages fade, even as new stars are named and old ones forgotten, even when no one remembers the king inside. The pyramid will stand, but it no longer needs to stand alone, because now you carry it with you, in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the quiet chamber of your mind, where great, gentle things are stored. And when you close your eyes again, tonight, tomorrow, or many nights from now, you'll know you can return, not just to the monument, but to the memory, to the feeling of something vast and kind and still, to the dream of forever. And now, gentle soul, sleep one last time beneath the shadow of that dream. The pyramid watches, the stars move slowly, time flows like sand, and you are safe inside it all. The journey ends not in silence, but in stillness. Let it hold you, let it keep you, let it rest beside you forever.